So we'll start so right now, get you in your spirit, change your mindset, make a positive word, you're more than enough. So where are you diamond? Where are
Where are your diamonds? Wicked men. We will discuss wicked men in the Bible so that you can be aware. Warning is very and easily able to be preventable as we start this new chapter in knowing what are good men, what are quality men, and what are godly men. So we're going to start with Pharaoh. How many people remember Pharaoh? There was a slogan that said, "Let my people go." The reason why he became and hit on the list, he was a ruler, so he had a bad spirit as a ruler, and he had wicked ways. So he is considered a lover of self. He basically stated in the scripture, it says Exodus 9:29, Exodus chapter 9:27 to 28. He actually expressed himself. I have sinned this time, as the Lord is righteous, and my people are wicked. And explains, entreat the Lord that there be no more mighty thundering in hell, and I will let you go, and you shall stay. So God was just basically telling me several times to let the people go. He had such a stronghold and didn't want to let them go. I mean, there was locust flies. There were so many times that there were so many things that God did to him, but he had a very mean hearted spirit. And we know men this way in the world. We know men that have mean spirits, and we know that these type of men sometimes that harm women, kill women. And it goes back to the basic principles of the Bible that these type of men won't surrender until they might completely lose everything. And it took Pharaoh a long time because Hebrew people were in Egypt for many years. So we want to make sure we prevent ourselves from not meeting a Pharaoh. People can change, but they have to change on their own time. And even God hard, he didn't revere him until he lost almost everything and finally decided to back out. All right, so the next person, this kind of man, we don't want this kind of man either because this is a jealous man, very jealous man, jealous of other men and what they can accomplish instead of looking in the mirror at themselves. So this was Saul. Saul was jealous of David. David was a really very special person to God. I mean, David did seemed very in the Bible that he was very handsome. He dated a woman that wasn't his own. He fled when the enemies were coming against him because he was like this powerful. He slayed so many people, even Goliath, and Goliath was double his size. And he was just a strategic warrior. He worshiped God. He loved the Lord. And this is why he was despised by Saul and also despised by Michael. And she couldn't bore kids because God saw her jealousy. And it's a lot. It's a lot. Women and men are jealous, but he's in the here. He's here in this list because Saul, he turned his jealousy into suicidal. He was so jealous of David. But this is the scriptures that we're going to speak about. Samuel chapter 1, 18, 6 through 16 verse. And if you read that one, it will just explain, how he was basically so jealous of him. The reason why is because basically how back then they were men that were like fighters, and so David, like he basically fought many more people than Saul. I think Saul only fought 1,000, and David fought about 10,000 on his own. But he was equipped for it. I mean, he had spent time with God, and he had daily devotion with God. So God will equip you for what you can do, and that's why David was so powerful. But Saul is a jealous man, and we want to stay away from men that are envy of other men or envy of you, because that won't work. Okay, so the next one is Harold. I don't know if you remember here in the Bible. He was in the book of Mark. Yes, it was here. Matthew 14, verse 1 through 12, and then Mark chapter 6, 14 through 29. So Harold, he killed John the Baptist. This person, this woman that he was dancing with, which I believe, yes, it was Harold's daughter. She convinced him because he got to dance with her, and she convinced him and said, "You know what? He said, since you dance with me, what is something that you wanted?" And her request is not the norm. She wanted to behead John and bring his head to her because she had this revengeful heart, and so he did it. He cut off John the Baptist's head and basically gave it to her. Now, this is the type of man I would say he's on the list because for you to do something that would cause death upon someone and cut off a part of their head, that we hear stories about people, cutting people's genitals or their body parts, but that's sickening to me. That is not right. It's it's strange, but then it starts to become normal in the world that people do things like that. But for him to kill someone that everyone has an assignment and chosen, but and also to listen to this woman without any conviction or asking any questions, but just said he'll promise to do whatever she said because she just wanted dance. That makes me alarmed to say that if you see a man like Harold that's willing to compromise things, for just one thing, one moment of a dance, I would not trust that man with he's on the list for a reason. All right, so we're gonna move on. I know this one is gonna be a little different and strange because I put Satan. He's the prince of the world. He has his own title. Think about Satan. We don't know his story as childhood, but we know Satan was an angel. We know Satan sung in the choir, and we know that he felt some kind of way because he knew that Jesus, the angels were worshiping God, and he wanted to be worshipped. He wanted to have that acceleration and excitement, and he had some kind of envy and fury that he didn't want to follow Jesus anymore. He created hell, and that's why he's burning, and he's ready to send all of you and people there just because he can you. And remember in Deuteronomy 6 and 16, he tempted God. He tempted God for 40 days and 40 nights. But God, he's just that God. He wasn't tested. He's a G. He didn't eat. He didn't, he didn't eat. He fasted. And he proved himself that you are the prince of the world and I'm the ruler of the world. You still have to bow to me. You can follow me around. You can speak to me. You can say whatever you want to do. You can tempt me, but I will not follow you because I serve someone, his God. His God is the one that chose him to save us. And you think he was going to let Satan tempt him 40 days and 40 nights after all that he's been through and all of the teachings? When I say been through, that basically he died for us and he had to be crucified. And he taught all these people, and he already went against Judas. And Judas took him for silvers and golds. But then Satan comes back and still tries to follow him around, just like a little Peter Pan. And God said no. So we want to make sure that you are not chasing after the wrong man that has these kind of similarities as Satan, or all the similarities, because we know that there are men in this world that will tempt you. Even when I look at say an example, can I touch you? When he says, "Can I touch you?" I just want to feel you. Excuse you? Why do you want to feel me? No, because you have to remind yourself, I belong to God. I'm property of God. And even which is tempting you, just saying, things that are not right. And we know temptation will come, but we have to make sure that we are guarded up, you know, as Ezekiel 36:26, to clean our hearts and also to have that shield of protection around us, covering for those temptations so that we won't fall and be victim of any of these types of men. So we have a few more. This man, if you look at videos and movies and stuff, we always have like an antagonist in the movie, someone that's always negative, someone that's always um um kind of like what they call it now, hating or not celebrating or anything like that. This is Tobias. So he's spoken about in Nehemiah chapter 2, 4, and 6. So he was against Nehemiah. He was jealous of what they were doing. And he particularly responded to Nehemiah and was trying to explain to him that what y'all trying to do, I don't think you're going to succeed. But he didn't have an action plan. He didn't do anything. And Nehemiah did not stop what he did. He continued to build, and he didn't build on his own. He built with other people. But when people come against you, especially a man, and you see this type of man, and he's saying, "Oh, you're going back to school. You're 40 years old. You're not going to finish, or you'll never be a wife if you dated someone, and they don't see your value. You don't take that lightly and say and cry and follow up and stay with that person, or take his words to heart and believe that. You renounce it and you rebuke it. I don't know if Nehemiah did, but I know that they still kept building. They still kept building and accomplished what God wanted for them. So there are three more people on the list. Like that was okay. So three more people. Now this person, I always look at this person because I have to remind myself if God called me, I don't want anybody else to do what He's told me to do. I don't want the person to cry out. I don't want it to take place for my son, and all these things keep not being fulfilled because I know I have family members that got called and they didn't fulfill it. But this person was the same way Jonah. He ran away from the call. I understand because when you're dealing with people, and when I say people that are wicked and mean and evil, and those people in Nineveh, they were the worst. They were wicked. If you read about it, and I never knew this. And so, hey, yes, the son came, but he didn't fulfill God's plan. He actually, wasn't talked about as much afterwards because he passed away. But the danger of people that don't fulfill their calling or their assignments, that's important because Jonah, he put others in danger. When he got on the boat, and God was still telling him to do these things, the boat was turning and the people wondering what is going on out here? Like, why is the boat turning? And so he had to jump off the boat and be, and basically God had to swallow him and remind him that I am God. You're gonna have to come to me and pray to me because I sent you here. So the reason why I say he's on the list is because you don't want a man that's not gonna fulfill his promise and his destiny. And no, Jonah didn't have a wife or anything at the time. I didn't say it in the Bible. But he did have God, and God was pushing him to it. I don't know if God sent the son to him. We don't know, but we know God gave him enough and understanding to say, "Go ahead and do it." And so, the scripture that reminds me of it with him is Isaiah 1:17, disobedience. Then the Lord provided a great fish to swallow Jonah. And Jonah was inside the fish 3 days, 3 nights. Imagine being inside a fish for 3 days, 3 nights. Although we do eat fish, but I don't know what is inside of a fish. I know even when I thinking about how my son was in my womb, for 9 months, and just realizing, that was a long time, and how I had to prepare myself and sleep and eat and try to eat the right things. But he was swallowed up. Just imagine somebody swallowing you up, or imagine somebody, an animal, biting on your eating your head, and then you're, inside someone else. That feeling makes me realize that disobedience placed him where he couldn't be independent. He couldn't do the things that normally God will allow him to do because he didn't want to fulfill and teach the people what God was saying. And I know it was hard. I know it was hard because this has been difficult, but Jonah was the one. When you're the one and God said you're the one, you got to make it happen. You got to figure out how am I going to do this. So this is why he's on disobedience. You don't want a man that's disobedient to God, that's disobedient to their mother, that's disobedient to their call. Because although those things seem so simple, they will come back to bite you when you're marrying someone that's disobedient because he's not going to want to be submissive to you or to what you're building because he'll be defiant. And then back in the days, they used to have a saying about that, which is ODD, for they would just say this to young black boys, oh, they have ODD, and just start putting them on medicine, but not really, getting them to therapy. I remember my son, they were saying those things to me, and I decided, I'm not going to believe that. I had to put him, not on medicine, I had to put him in, therapy with a black therapist that actually looked like him to talk to him and teach him things that I couldn't, I had to put him around mentors and coaches. It's not easy. We're not perfect, but I'm just saying that's how disobedience kind of relates to why we should not. It can be corrected, but we want to make sure that they want to correct it. All right. So the last person is Judas. So why is Judas on the list? Why is he the last? Because this is something that we deal with in our world right now. We deal with this because after these Judases learn from you, they will take everything you have. Judas, he learned from God. God taught him about the ways of life and the word of God. But guess what he did? He listened to someone that came to him and propositioned him to betray him. And he left God for dead, basically, because he took silver and shackles. But all that wasn't a value enough for what God had already gave him. He gave him so much teachings with all the 12 disciples. They got all the teaching the same, but it's always that one, and you don't want to be that one because when he did that in the world, these men are chasing you for clout. They see that you're that good. They see you on Instagram posting about your money. They see you, driving around, in a nice vehicle. They see you have a home already. They see that you have these things. And what did they have? So they chasing you because they want the money, the clout. They want that life. And then they're ready to leave because they really just wanted to learn from you instead of asking you to take the class. They wanted to learn from you in order to get the woman they really wanted. Don't waste your time on Judas because Judases will betray you. And even sometimes these Judases are real live men that are willing to take everything and still try to kill you or harm you. So themselves. So that's why these men made the list of wicked men versus these men are exactly what you see in the world. But it's really where we need to read our Bible and understand this so that we won't fall victim of this. Thank you. I will be back for the other part of this with this man's God's heart. Just give me a few moments. I am going to explain that, and I'll be back. Stay tuned.